Hi there guys, so in this video we're gonna be taking a look at how to make AJAX requests in WordPress. So by standards we have three methods that we can use to create an AJAX request, and let's go through each of them one by one. So let's go through what we have set up here first. So we have a demo plugin which we're going to use to write our code, and then the debug plugins which I have already done a video separately, which are linked as well in this video description, so you can take a look into that. So assuming you have basic info about these debug plugins, so we can directly jump into coding this AJAX request thing. Alright, so let me switch to my editor. So this is Visual Studio Code. I have this demo plugin, bare bones plugin. As you can see, it only registers a menu page. Simple as that. This is the menu page. Let me go through it. Okay, demo menu page. Here's the renderer function. It's as simple as this. It echoes this title here. Okay, so what we're gonna do in this demo, basically all of those AJAX methods, we're gonna try to do a simple thing, that is create a voting mechanism and try to vote and save the vote counts into the database, and then echo the results in this page as well, and then use a button to make the request. Okay, so let's make the button first. As you can see, this now has a button, says vote, and this is what we're going to use to vote. Let's also create one more thing. So let's call it count, and then we'll use concatenation to echo our value. That will be count. Let's do the count and a variable called count. For now, let's hardcode the value that says 1. Alright, close this. And if you were to it shows here, as you can see, count 1. As you saw here, this is hard-coded right now. There's no dynamic thing going on. So the vote button also does nothing right now. It has a simple hash in the href. So let's create an AJAX link. The first method we are going to look into, that is an AJAX link, basically. So for the link, let's store the link in a variable. We'll call it AJAX URL, and then we'll use admin_URL function to create our link. First parameter it takes is the path, and the path is admin-ajax.php, and then the parameters for the AJAX action. So the first parameter will be the action name for the AJAX. So this can be anything, but we're going to call it demo plugin vote. Alright, and you can provide more parameters to it by separating them with ampersand. So I'm also going to give it a nonce parameter. So this nonce is important because this is what will be used to verify that the AJAX action is from our own site and not from some other. I'll show you how to create that as well. So we have this nonce parameter, and then let's create the nonce value. We'll store it in a nonce variable. You can create a nonce value by wp_create_nonce action, and then give it a name. So basically this is also called action, but by design they're both different and can have either same names or different names as well. They don't exactly matter. So we'll call it demo plugin vote nonce. Alright, okay, so now we have this value nonce here, and then what we can do is concatenate the value over here. Now we have the AJAX URL, and then what we want to do is basically echo it here. So we'll concatenate the value again to here AJAX URL. Alright, let's echo this. now you'll see we have the URL in the vote button. But if you were to click it now, you'll see it shows 0 basically. It shows nothing and then does nothing. Let's go back and then try to do something. So we have created the AJAX link, but to listen to it, we have to use WordPress hooks. So the hook to use here is, let's create our action function. And then the hook starts with, it is always prefixed with WP underscore AJAX, and then underscore your action name, which was mentioned here, demo plugin boot, whatever you have named it. And then that, the second parameter will be your function name, which will hook into this action. So we'll call it process underscore votes. And then let's create that function, process underscore votes. Right, so process underscore votes, we have it here. So as you were to remember, we also provided a nonce value. So this nonce value is what we're going to use next to verify the request. We'll create a conditional, and then in this conditional, we'll say not check admin, AJAX referral. And then it has 3 parameters. It takes in 3 parameters, but will only be required to use 2, the first 2. All right. So we are expecting it to fail in that case only the if a conditional will trigger. All right. So let's give the first parameter, that is the action name. The nonce action name. So this is what we have here. All right. So the first parameter goes like this, and then the second parameter is the parameter name of the AJAX request. Yeah, you see nonce here. It can be anything here, but then you'd also want to match it here. All right, so we'll say nonce. So by default, this request will be processed under a super global, a server global, and then this check AJAX referrer under the hood will look into that variable for this parameter. Yeah, so let's not get into that. And just assume that it will check that variable and then match it with the nonce we have created. All right. So what we want to do when some request doesn't match with this, and then we just want to say unauthorized, and simple as that. Lastly, we have no value other than these action names and nonce parameters right now. So what we can do is redirect. So we'll use WP safe redirect, and then we'll just give it the redirect link. So we can either say, we can just directly copy paste this URL here by saying also using the same function admin URL, and then the first parameter is that. Okay. Lastly, we'll use die to exit out of the buffer. All right. So here it is. If we were to click on this now, it will take us back to it. But as you can see, it does nothing. The count is at 1 because it's still hard coded and we haven't saved as well anything. So yeah, this is the save redirect. We are now looking into the AJAX action. All right. So second thing is to provide it with some data. Maybe we want to provide it some value in this AJAX URL. So in this particular example, what we're going to use is post meta to save our value. You can use anything else, but for this one, or we can use basically the DB. Yeah, let's just use get options. All right, so we'll call it. Okay, I think let's not. The voting button should automatically trigger, and then what we should have is we take in the vote count. We will get the vote count. Get underscore option is what is used to save some value in the database in the RWB options table. So we'll call this function, this value option demo plugin votes. All right. And then the second one being the default value. Let's just say 1. Yeah. We want it to start with 1. If there is no value set, it will be 1. All right. So when a request comes, what we want to do is we will want to update this vote count. So how you do that is update option, and then update option, we will give the same key, and then we'll take the vote count, and then we can just say +1. Yeah, that should be it. And we can also save the result in, like, let's say we have result. All right, result. We can do that. And then we're not going to use it right now, but you'll see how we can use that later. All right, so there's that. Now we have the vote count updated each time this is clicked. If you were to click on this now, you see nothing happens here because we are not updating this dynamically right now. So let's do that. Let's get our count from our options table, and then we'll be using the same key. Remember, this one we used to save it, and then again provide the default value here. Now, if you were to refresh it, you can see it's 2. If you were to click, every time it will update. As you can see, it's using the AJAX hook to update it dynamically. There's another hook that we use to hook into the AJAX request when they are not done via a logged in user. So you can say that when wp_AJAX _no priv. So no priv is basically no privileges, and then the same action name here. Okay, so like that, and then you can create some other function that basically outputs some data. So maybe something like, let's say, must stay logged in or must logged in, right? And then we can create that as well. Function must logged in. And then what we want to do is basically exit out with, we can just say echo should be logged in. Right, and then we can just say exit. Alright. Okay. So if someone who is not logged in now makes that request or simply goes to this link, what it will do is basically output this. Let's try that. Let's open this in a new private window. Let me go to, and as you can see here, you should be logged in, it says. All right, let's get back to our page. And then, so you saw here how we are updating it via this link only. All right, yeah. So the next thing we can do here is, so this was the first method basically. As you can see, it performs everything you want via a simple link. So this is the first method. The second method is using a form, basically a form action. So a form action should be handled in a neater way, I suppose, because that will also have some markup. Suppose you have a form here, and then that takes in some other input, and that also saves that somewhere, and then does whatever your AJAX action should do. So let's create that, or what I have done here is already created a demo form action here, a form renderer. So let me just go there and let me update this thing because it was earlier using the post meta. I'm going to update option, and then this one will have the vote count, get action, get option, and we will say the action name is here. Sorry, option name. I keep confusing the action name with the option name. Right. So this is the default value we want. And then, yeah, for the word count. I think this won't be required yet now. So yeah, the default value. And the ID won't be required here. Never plugin word nones. All right. So we can simply switch to this form renderer by going here and then saying form renderer, because that's what I have named it. As you can see, it says enter your custom message and then a vote now button. So this custom message input is new, as you can see here. So let me go through each of this line by line. So this is the first thing is we are getting the vote count from our option, and then we are also echoing the page name here, and then we have the count here. As you can see, it also has a few bit of extra markup than compared to the original we created here. That is because this span ID count is we'll use in the third method. Basically, you can skip it for now, but yeah. So as you can see, it is also sanitizing it for the key, which is this is a sanitization function, and this one is not required to be used, but I'm just using it as is. But what it can use is apps in to sanitize it better for any integer values. All right. Okay. So the third is where we are exiting out of PHP, and then so that we can write some HTML markup, right, as you can see here. And then we are concatenating some PHP functions such as the admin AJAX URL. As you can see, this one here is directly linked to the ajax.php, and then this ajax.php will have these form values by default in the post action. That is how the form post actions work. So we have this hidden action name, that is the demo plugin vote, and then the hidden nonce value, as you can see here. Nonce value echoes the create nonce, and then a simple text input here which says custom message, which we are gonna look into how you can save this as well. So yeah, and then the submit button. So what this does is basically does the very same thing actually. Makes the request demo plugin vote should get linked into this, and then process the same thing as here, right? Let's take a look here by clicking on this. This should update. As you can see, it updates. So this is the second method. This is basically just a form, and then does that. You can have many inputs, as many type of inputs such as select or file uploads, etc., and then you can handle them in the AJAX request itself. All right. So in this case, we have a text message. So you would suppose, how would you save that? So you come here again, and then you know that it's gonna come in the value of message because that's the name of this input. So you call and say actually update option. So update option is better because if there's no key set already, it will set it. So we'll call it demo plugin message, because in this case we don't want to hold many messages. We just want one single message for demo purposes. So we'll say it's from the request. Let's just get the message. We'll say request, and then we'll get the message, right? And then we can just say message. If the message isn't in the request, we can say null, right? All right, let's come here and let's also echo out the message. Actually, not in this one because we are using this form renderer here. So we'll go again here, and then create another echo function, and then in our p tag we will create our message, and then what we'll do is actually not should be in double. You can also output variables like this, and then you do is this. Yeah. So if you were to now get a message from the saved option, that will be get option, and then what we used here, the default is let's say nothing, right? And then message, just yeah. Now if you go to refresh it, you'll see the message nothing because it is nothing right now. And if you were to say hi and then hit vote now, it will be hi. As you can see, it also saves that. So this is that. Now let's ignore this message thing because we don't want this. This was just to show you how this all works. Let's just remove that as well, and this as well. And let's move on to our third method, that is the jQuery way, basically via a script, and that is a much more smoother way of handling AJAX requests. So the page doesn't reload, and then you have the data automatically updated in the page. So let me just switch to that. So as you can see, we also have this span ID count here. That is another markup, and then this ID to target this vote count. This is the only thing you need to make sure that you have in to target the output, basically to update the values in the front end. And then this will all stay the same. You can either skip this action because it's not required, and most of this stuff will be provided via the in the script itself. So you can just skip to that, and then let's just use this vote now button, and then we'll do all of that there. All right. So what I can do is basically just get rid of all this. Yeah. Okay. So let me just get rid of all this, and then also remove this action, so you know that we are not doing it from here. All right. It's as simple as this. Just vote now. But you'll see that we'll automatically do it via the script. So I have a script created over here. This has this jQuery handler setup. I have also created a video displaying everything, how you can enqueue scripts and jQuery, use jQuery in it. So I also had this commented the code here. This was basically the same code to enqueue the script, so I didn't want to waste for the time in explaining all this because I already have a video about this, how you can do all of this. So I'm just going to quickly update this to use the WP options table which we were using above. So we'll say get option for the vote count, and then we'll simply use the key which was demo plugin vote, and then use that over here, and the vote counts default, that is 1. All right, we can ignore this part because it's not required, and we don't want the ID over here, right? All right, we can simply also ignore this stuff, right? All right, we will also need to update this demo plugin vote, right? Demo plugin vote. So we have all of this here set up. So what we're doing basically is just providing the, actually let's get rid of the vote count. Why can we even add it here? We won't need the vote count. So what we're doing right now is basically just giving the AJAX URL to our script that is here, demoscript.js, in this demo data global variable, and then a nonce that is the nuns here. So we'll go to the script and then we'll create our AJAX function. Before that, we'll also need to make sure that our trigger works when the vote now button is clicked. So I assume you know the basics of the jQuery. That is, you target the form and then we'll look into what the form ID is. That is vote form here, as you can see. Form ID, vote form. Now we'll use that to target it. And then in jQuery, how you handle submits. A form submit is via submit function. Pivot function inside. We'll handle that. We'll get the event and then use the prevent default to prevent the loading of the page. Alright. So lastly, what we'll do is we'll make the AJAX request. Now, in this, we provide all of our necessary values and actions. Alright, so the first thing is type. That will be our request type. In this case, it will be a post, and then the data. That will be our action name. So we have demo data. As you can see, we have short formed it to DD. You can see how this is done in that separate video I mentioned. I'll also link it below in the video, in this video description. All right, so let's say dd.ajax URL, which we are getting from here, basically ajax URL, right? Actually, yeah, so this is not ajax URL. We want to call the ajax action name. So we can either just name it manually, type it manually. We'll say demo plugin vote, because that's what our action name is. And then the AJAX URL. So that'll be URL and then dd.ajax URL. Okay. So the second parameter in data will be nuns, the nuns value, and that will be AJAX, dd.nuns, right? And we also will create a success function, which will take in the response and do something with it. We'll have the response here. And then let's say if we get response.type, and the response.type is equals to success, what we want to do is basically update the count value, right? And to do that, we'll also trigger the vote count. Let's go back. Sorry, it's count. So you can see it has an ID and a count. So let's do that. Let's use that vote count, and then we'll say text, and then hit update with our res.vote count, which we'll get from our response. In the else value, we can say there is that in a console log, we can just simply output the response. And another thing that we can say is console log this failed. Okay, so this is basically our AJAX function. Let's process it. But as you can see, if we were to click on this vote now function, button right now, it won't do anything. Let's also open the inspector controls and then console. Okay, says syntax error missing after property list, line 7 column 19. Line 7 column 19 AJAX opened. I'm not sure why it's saying an error. So I assume everything is right. Does it also? It does not. It should not. Let me check this. Oh, yeah. We have a typo here from him. Okay. Yeah. All right. All's good here. If you were to click on this now, you'll see that there will be an error. Okay, I think there's no error, but yeah, it says an error here, this page, because there is an error. But you see this was 5, but if you were to refresh it manually, it will be 6. As you can see, so this worked, but didn't update here. That is because we also want to get the output in JSON, the response from the server. So what we have right now here is we are basically redirecting, and that's what was here. If we were to click again, you'll see that there's a whole HTML page that is being outputted via the server. So we don't want that. We want the JSON response. So what we'll do here is basically comment this one out. Actually, let's not comment this. This is a result. So if result, so we know that update option returns a boolean. So if result, then we'll want to say response. Let's call it res, and then we'll give it a type of if result is true, then we'll call it success, and then again another value in the variable, and then we'll say vote underscore count, which will be this vote count plus 1. So let's save it in another variable, updated count, and let's use that over here, right? And then let's also use that over here, right? And in the else value, what we can do is we can just say res type, let's say error, right? And now lastly, what we can do is use jQuery send JSON, and then we'll just simply send our JSON. That will be our response variable, right? So this will send the response back to the server. Okay, if you were to now click on this, you'll see it automatically updating this. All right, it's not working for some reason. Response type, that we send the JSON, we are sending it back. If result is this and it is this, let's look into this and see what is happening here. Might be doing some silly mistake here because this is being updated, and as you can see, it says conflict type res.type success. Oh yeah, so this it's targeting vote count versus what we have here in the form renderer method is basically with the ID of count instead of vote count. All right, so now this will work. If we were to refresh the page and then clear out, so that we will see any errors pop out here. As you can see, it works. So this was the third option, the third method, that is to use the AJAX via the jQuery way and in a much more smoother way. So you can imagine all sorts of stuff here via AJAX, and then all that will happen very smoothly and without reloading the whole page. You can do everything here, right? And this is the same for the front end as well. If you want to do something on the front end, maybe output a form and then do something with it via AJAX, the hooks stay the same. That is this add action and then WP underscore AJAX for the logged in users, and then WP underscore AJAX underscore no privilege, or no priv underscore your action name. That is for logged out users, right? So yeah, that is it for this video. I hope I'll see you in another one. Have a good day till then.